Live television feels safe. A studio, a schedule, a producer counting down in your ear. We trust it because it looks controlled. Yet some of the most shocking deaths in modern history unfolded while the world watched in real time, sometimes by accident, sometimes through failure, sometimes because nobody in charge hit the cut button fast enough. Tonight, you're going to hear 8 true cases from around the world. Each one has a turning point where a life was lost, plus a lesson about safety, ethics, and what happens when a crisis becomes a broadcast. Before we start, I want to ask you something. Have you ever been watching something live and felt your stomach drop? Because you realized there was no rewind, no redo, no way to take it back? Tell me where you're watching from in the comments. City and country, I read them. And if you're here for nonfiction true crime with real lessons, subscribe to Dark Justice Files. I don't make these stories to shock you. I make them to leave you sharper than you were 5 minutes ago. Case 1 starts in a place that should have been harmless, a sunny morning interview by the water. 1. Allison Parker, Adam Ward, August 26, 2015. Moneta, Virginia. A local news crew is doing what local crews do every day, finding a community story, getting the live shot, keeping it moving. Allison Parker was 24 and rising fast. Friends and colleagues described her as driven, warm on camera, the kind of reporter who could talk to anyone without forcing it. Adam Ward was 27, a photojournalist, steady, reliable, the person you wanted behind the lens when a live segment had no room for mistakes. They weren't just coworkers. Their newsroom was connected by relationships. Allison was dating a fellow broadcaster, and Adam was engaged to a producer. That matters because what happened next didn't just hit the audience. It hit their loved ones, their colleagues, their workplace, everyone at once. That morning, Allison and Adam met Vicki Gardner, a local chamber director, for an outdoor interview near Smith Mountain Lake. The live segment begins like 1,000 others. Allison smiles, asks questions, keeps the tone light. A man approaches from behind. The audience hears the disruption before they fully understand it. The picture breaks. The audio turns chaotic. In the studio, anchors freeze. Because you're not trained for the moment, your own coworkers become victims on air. Allison and Adam are shot and killed at the scene. Vicki Gardner survives, badly injured. The shooter is identified quickly. Vester Lee Flanagan II, who had worked at the same station under the name Bryce Williams. He had been fired years earlier. After the attack, he runs. A manhunt begins. Hours later, he takes his own life during a police chase. Here's the part that stays with people who worked in news. The attack was designed for maximum attention. A live segment guarantees witnesses. It guarantees chaos. It guarantees headlines. Lesson: when a workplace conflict turns into fixation, time passed is not a safety plan. Field crews need clear security procedures, and managers need real threat assessment before someone decides the broadcast itself is the stage. In your opinion, should stations be required to provide security training for field crews the same way they do for severe weather coverage? Because the next case isn't about an attacker walking into frame. It's about a broadcast failing to protect viewers and a family paying for it. 2. Joe Don Romero. September 28, 2012. Near Phoenix, Arizona, a carjacking turns into a long police pursuit. Helicopters track the suspect. Networks pick up the feed. The chase becomes a moving show, fast, unpredictable, and dangerous. This is where live TV plays a risky game. The audience wants the ending, but nobody can control what the ending is. Broadcasters use short delays during breaking events for a reason. That buffer is supposed to prevent the worst moments from reaching viewers. It's supposed to give someone time to cut away. This time it didn't work. The chase ends and the suspect, identified as Joe Don Romero, dies by suicide while cameras are still on him. A major network airs it live due to a failure in the delay system. The anchor can be heard urgently calling for the feed to be cut. The problem doesn't end when the broadcast ends. It never does. A live moment becomes a clip. The clip becomes a repost. The repost becomes something a child can stumble across with 2 taps on a phone. Romero's family later described how the footage spread and how it affected his children. Lawsuits followed. Arguments exploded about ethics, trauma, public interest, and what responsibility media companies carry when a tragedy becomes searchable content. Lesson: a delay is only meaningful if someone has the power and the training to hit the cut instantly. We have a buffer means nothing if nobody uses it. If you're still watching, hit the like button. It helps the video reach people who want real cases, not rumors. Next, a siege where the cameras didn't just record the crisis, they helped shape it. 3. The Manila Hostage Crisis, August 23, 2010. Manila, Philippines. A tourist bus sits near Rizal Park. Inside are tourists from Hong Kong, a tour guide, and local staff. For many of them, it's a trip they'll remember for photos, street food, and a flight home. Instead, it becomes one of the most infamous hostage crises ever broadcast. Rolando Mendoza, a former police officer, takes control of the bus armed. His demand is straightforward: reinstatement to his job and the benefits he believed were owed to him. Negotiations begin. Hours pass. News crews gather because it's dramatic, it's developing, and it's public. Here's the critical mistake. Much of the standoff is televised widely. Reports and later reviews highlighted a dangerous reality. Mendoza could follow coverage and learn what police were doing outside. In a hostage situation, the information is power. Live coverage can hand that power to the person holding a weapon. The longer it drags on, the more fragile everything becomes. Frustration, miscommunication, pressure from the public, pressure from officials, pressure to do something. By the end, the bus is stormed. The operation is chaotic. Hostages are killed. Mendoza is killed as well. The world watches the aftermath, stunned and furious. The consequences spread beyond the scene. Hong Kong and the Philippines endure years of diplomatic strain. Investigations and official reviews criticize failures in coordination and crisis handling. Families are left with grief that no apology can erase. Lesson: during an active hostage event, live broadcasting can turn into real-time intelligence for the perpetrator. Media presence has to be managed like any other risk, because sometimes it becomes one. Should live coverage of ongoing hostage situations be delayed by law? Yes or no? Give me your take. We're halfway through and a pattern is showing up again and again. So far, 3 failures keep repeating. The event becomes a stage because it's live. Decision-making degrades under pressure for perpetrators, responders, and media. The harm multiplies after the broadcast when clips spread forever. If you want a part 2 with deeper dives into individual cases, subscribe now. Next story is one of the most painful examples of possessive control turning deadly while a nation watched. 4. Eloa Cristina Pimentel, October 2008, Santo André, São Paulo, Brazil. Eloa Cristina Pimentel is 15, young enough that her future should still feel open. School friends, plans that only make full sense to teenagers. Her ex-boyfriend, Lindenberg Alves, is older, 22, and he refuses to accept the breakup. That detail matters. The most dangerous period in many abusive relationships is often the moment someone tries to leave. He enters an apartment and takes hostages. Negotiations begin. The situation drags on. The longer it lasts, the more it becomes national obsession. Cameras camp outside. Updates roll nonstop. People discuss it like entertainment because constant coverage makes it feel like a story, not a real-life emergency with a teenager trapped inside it. Controversies follow about media conduct during the standoff and whether the spectacle added pressure and volatility. The core truth remains: an intimate partner crisis was playing out as public drama. Police eventually enter. Shots are fired. Eloa is critically injured and later dies. Her friend Nayara survives. Lindenberg is arrested, tried and convicted, receiving a long prison sentence. The case becomes a lasting symbol in Brazil of what can happen when possessive control meets public attention and institutional failure. Lesson: jealousy framed as devotion can hide coercive control, monitoring threats, isolation, escalation after a breakup. Those are danger signals, not relationship drama. If you've ever seen those signs in someone's life, take them seriously. Support matters. Timing matters. Safety planning matters. Next, a journalist who went to document history and became one of its most haunting images. 5. Kenji Nagai. September 27, 2007. Yangon, Myanmar. Protests filled the streets during what became known as the Saffron Revolution, monks and civilians calling for change. The government responds with force. Kenji Nagai is a Japanese journalist there to record what many people will never witness firsthand. He's done dangerous reporting before. Still, no amount of experience makes you immune to a bullet. As troops confront protesters, gunfire breaks out. Nagai is shot and killed. A Reuters photographer captures an image that travels around the world. Nagai on the ground, his camera still with him. Officials initially claim he was killed accidentally. Footage and reporting raise serious doubt, and the questions never truly go away. Was it crossfire, or was it deliberate? Years later, another chapter adds weight to the story. In 2023, Nagai's missing camera, lost the day he died, resurfaces, and previously unseen footage is shown publicly during its return to his family. Lesson: recording the truth can keep pressure on powerful institutions and long after they want the story buried. Sometimes justice follows, sometimes it doesn't. The record still matters. Next case, a killing that happened in front of cameras in the United States, 2 days after a president was assassinated. 6. Lee Harvey Oswald, November 24, 1963, Dallas, Texas. The nation is already in shock from President John F. Kennedy's assassination 2 days earlier. Lee Harvey Oswald has been arrested as the suspect in a murder. People demand answers. They expect a trial. Cameras gather in the basement of Dallas Police Headquarters as Oswald is moved for transfer. The scene is crowded. Press, police, movement, noise. Jack Ruby, a local nightclub owner, steps forward and shoots Oswald. It happens in front of live television cameras. The suspect in the most important crime of the decade is killed before he can testify in court. Ruby is arrested on the spot. He's convicted and sentenced to death, though legal developments later overturn the conviction. Before a new trial can happen, Ruby dies of cancer in 1967. Oswald's death on live TV becomes a generator of distrust. Many people believe it erased the chance for full truth. Conspiracy theories explode, and decades later, the event still shapes how people think about power, secrecy, and accountability. Lesson: when the public watches a justice process collapse in real time, trust breaks. Once broken, it rarely returns to its original shape. Next, a press conference that forced broadcasters to confront a brutal question: what should be aired at all? 7. R. Bud Dwyer, January 1987, Pennsylvania. R. Bud Dwyer is the state treasurer, facing sentencing after conviction in a corruption case. He calls a press conference. Cameras arrive expecting statements, denials, maybe resignation. What happens instead becomes one of the most infamous live broadcasts in American history. Dwyer takes his own life in front of the press. Many viewers are exposed without warning. Stations scramble, some cut away, some don't. For years, newsrooms debate where responsibility begins. The moment the press conference is scheduled, the moment cameras roll, the moment producers decide what stays on screen. No matter where you draw the line, one fact is unavoidable. A tragedy became a broadcast, and that broadcast became a permanent artifact, resurfacing again and again. Lesson: news judgment isn't only about legality, it's about human cost, especially for families, children, and viewers who never consented to witness a death. Final case: 2 moments in sports where the audience came for competition and left with grief. 8. Mark Vivian Foe and Miklos Feher, June 26, 2003. In a Confederations Cup match, Cameroon's Mark Vivian Foe collapses during play and later dies. The football world is stunned because elite athletes look invincible right up until the moment they aren't. January 25, 2004. In Portugal, Benfica striker Meticulously collapses late in a match and later dies after being taken for medical care. Fans remember the suddenness, the way a normal moment turns into emergency. These aren't crimes. There's no perpetrator to chase. Yet they share the same emotional punch as every story in this video. The public witnessing a life ending without preparation. The legacy in both cases feeds a larger conversation about medical readiness in sport, screening, emergency response planning, and fast access to life-saving equipment. Lesson: in high-stakes environments, stadiums, studios, streets, preparedness changes outcomes. When seconds matter, planning is mercy. 8 cases, different countries, different decades. One repeating truth: a live camera can turn a crisis into a stage. A stage can change behavior. Change behavior can change the outcome. So here's the takeaway I want you to keep. The broadcast is never neutral. If it's live, it's part of the event, whether anyone admits it or not. Which case hit you the hardest? And what rule should live TV never break again? If you want a part 2, subscribe to Dark Justice Files. Next episode, we'll cover cases where attention itself became a weapon, how perpetrators chased notoriety, how media reacted, and what platforms changed afterward. One last note: if anything in this video brought up heavy feelings for you, reach out to someone you trust or a local crisis line in your country. You deserve support that's real, not comments that scroll away. Thanks for watching. Stay aware, stay safe.